guys, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be filming a book haul, and I know I shouldn't be buying so many books because I'm moving next year in March, so I should be getting rid of books instead of adding more to my shelf, but I have just found so many good titles lately at the thrift store, at secondhand bookstores, so I just could not help myself. So let's get into it. So up first, I have Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer. This is an adult nonfiction book, and it is kind of like a commentary on eating animals and the animal industry and stuff like that. And I personally am a meat eater, but I've heard this book is really moving and thought-provoking, and I love reading nonfiction books, so I just had to pick this one up when I saw it at the thrift store. This one was actually a library binded book, but I actually ended up cutting off all the binding, and it still has the library stamp on top, but basically it's a brand new hardcover, and for $2 I can't really complain. So up next I have The Couple Next Door by Cherie LaPena, and this is a adult thriller novel, and this follows a couple who goes to a dinner party next door one night, and I believe they leave their daughter alone sleeping in their house next door, and a terrible crime is committed and everybody's looking to the parents. So this book has really polarizing reviews. I've heard really good things about this book and also not really good things about this book. I love reading books that have like differentiating opinions on them because I like to decide for myself. And also I've just been thinking lately how I want to read more thrillers, so I saw this one at the thrift store and just had to pick it up. So up next I have All's Well by Mona Awad. This is an adult fiction novel. It follows something having to do with Shakespearean plays and stuff like that. I heard about this over from Kayla over at Books and Lala, and I know that she read Bunny by Mona Awad and really loved it, and I think she really liked this book as well, and honestly I really trust her opinion. So when I saw this title and the fact that it's a newer title, I just had to pick it up. So up next I have One to Watch by Kate Stayman London, and this is an adult fiction / romance novel, and it follows our main character who is plus sized, and she watches this really popular reality TV show called Main Squeeze, which is kind of like our equivalent of The Bachelorette. She wonders why she never sees any plus size models on the show, and she gets a really interesting offer to be on the show as the first plus size contestant. And I've heard really good things about this book. I heard it's really cute, it's heartwarming, it's body positive, and I really like the colors of the cover, and so I had to pick this one up when I saw it at the thrift. So up next I have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and this is an adult fiction novel, and this follows our main character Nora. She stumbles upon a place called the Midnight Library, and it kind of shows her like these infinite possibilities of how her life could have turned out if she had taken certain steps. So I feel like this book kind of explores coulda, shoulda, woulda, and just kind of explores like the choices we make and coming to terms with them and how that kind of directs our life path and things like that. And I've heard really good things about this. I loved the other book I read by Matt Haig, Notes on a Nervous Planet, so I was really eager to pick this one up at the thrift. So up next I have Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and this is a young adult fantasy novel that follows our main character Yadriel, who is a teen who's trying to prove himself as a real brujo. So he raises the ghost of his dead cousin Miguel, only to accidentally raise the wrong spirit. I've heard really good things about this book. I've heard that it has really great queer representation, and I've been wanting some more queer YA fantasy in my life, so naturally I had to pick this one up during the recent spooky season. So up next I have a young adult fiction novel, and that is Invisible Ghosts by Robin Schneider. This book follows our main character Rose, who sees the ghost of her dead brother Logan, who is forever stuck at the age of 15, and she's kind of missing out on life since his death, and she's grieving for a very long time until a new friend comes to town and shows her everything that she's been missing, and now she feels like she has to choose between her brother and this new friend. So I think this book is going to follow a lot of balance between family and friendship relationships, and I haven't really heard too many things about this book. I don't really even remember where I heard about it, but I saw this at the dollar store, a brand new hardcover, so I just had to pick it up. So up next I have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and this is a book I've heard so much hype about on BookTube just in my years of being on here, and I was really happy to find a pretty nice paperback copy at my local used bookstore. And this book follows our main character who lives in the Russian wilderness, and she loves telling stories at the fireside with her siblings about fairy tales and things like that, and they do things like respect spirits until one day her father brings home their new stepmother. Their new stepmother is very devout religious, and she makes a lot of rules around the house where they can no longer respect the spirits and tell their fairy tales, and bad things start happening. So this basically follows our main character on this journey to basically save her town. But yeah, I'm super excited to read this YA fantasy book. I've heard really good things about it, like I said, so I'm very happy to own a copy, and I'm definitely going to read it this winter. So up next I have Last Meeting of the Gorilla Club by Sarah Nickerson. This is a middle grade fiction novel, and it follows our main character Josh, and he has a really hard time making friends at school, and he has an imaginary friend, but his parents tell him that he's way too old to have one. And then right before his first day at his new school, his imaginary friend reappears and appears to be interacting with another student, which sends our main character on this journey to discover friendship and things that make us unique and things like that. So I heard about this book over from one of the middle grade booktubers that I watch, and if you guys know, I like reading all different age levels just because it's what makes me happy, and I like to have a diverse reading pool, and also someday I would love to give the books I've read to my kids. So that's why I picked this one up. I saw it at the dollar store, brand new hardcover. So yeah, super excited to read this one. So up next I have Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson, and this is an adult fiction / contemporary novel. And all I know about this one is that it follows a family that went through kind of an unexpected event, and this book is very poetic and it goes forwards and backwards in time, and I really enjoy reading books like that. And I just heard really good things about this book, so I went ahead and picked this up at my local used bookstore. Up next I picked up Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This book has been literally everywhere in recent months because of the new movie adaptation that came out, and personally I never read this book when it first came out, but all the hype has been kind of getting to me a little bit because as soon as I saw this copy at my local used bookstore, I just really was drawn to it. All I know about this book is that it follows this lonely girl who lives in a marsh, and there's a push and pull between her and her town and I guess society as a whole, and it kind of makes a commentary on that. There's like a mystery involved. That's all I really know about it, but my aunt keeps telling me I need to read this, so I'm definitely going to try to read this one soon. So up next I have The Push by Ashley Audrain, and this is an adult fiction novel, and it follows our main character who has her first child, and she is convinced that something is wrong with her child, and her husband doesn't understand what she's talking about, and she just doesn't really feel a connection to her child. But then when her second child is born, she feels such a strong connection to her child that's so blissful and natural, and she smothers that baby with love. So I've heard this book is very striking and very bold, and it explores really deep topics around motherhood and children and forming a connection to them, and I think this book is going to be really good. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I was super ecstatic when I saw this at my local thrift store, so I'm very excited to read this one. Up next I have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and this is an adult fiction thriller novel, and all I know about this one is that it has really dark academia vibes, and there's a lot of murder involved, and it takes place, I believe, at Cambridge University. So I have been really craving some dark academia novels to be on my shelf, so I was super happy when I found this one at the thrift store, and it's in really good condition too, so I'm really excited to read this one. So up next I have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is an adult fiction novel, and this one I believe takes place in the 70s and follows a family that moves to Alaska for a fresh start to kind of live off the grid and bond more as a family. Things don't go exactly according to plan, and this ends up becoming more of a survival situation. This book has a lot to do with, like I said, survival and family resilience and working together in the wilderness, and I haven't really read too many books that take place in the wilderness. I know I loved Hatchet growing up. Obviously that's totally different, but yeah, I'm super excited to read this one. I really like the cover of this one. It reminds me of like fall and stuff like that. So I picked this one up when I saw it at my local thrift store. So up next I have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a classic. I've read it on multiple occasions. I reread it, I think, most recently in 2019 or 2020. And I don't own a physical copy, so I went ahead and picked this one up. I think my last copy was really beat up, and it was a mass market paperback that was yellowing and falling apart. So I definitely went ahead and picked up this really pristine paperback. So I'll probably reread this at some point in my life just because I love this classic so much. So I'm super happy to add this one to my shelf. So up next I have The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. This is an adult fiction slash mystery slash sort of thriller novel, and all I know about this one is it takes place at a dreary hotel and there's like this Ponzi scheme involved, and that's all I really know about it. But I've heard really good things about this book and this author all over BookTube, especially from Kayla over at Books and Lala, who, like I said, I love all of her recommendations. I think she has really great taste in books. So naturally, when I saw this one at the thrift, had to pick it up. So up next I have The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, and this is a young adult novel that I'm sure you're very well familiar with. This book has been circulating on BookTube. It's a very popular book for a very long time, and for good reason. Look at all those awards. Yeah, this book I believe got made into a movie, and there's also another book by this author that was very popular for similar reasons. And yeah, I'm so excited to finally have this one on my shelf. This book really surrounds a teenager who is kind of bracing through as her friend is the victim of a hate crime that's racially motivated, and this book explores racism and police brutality and things like that. And I've heard this book is really life-changing, tear-jerking, moving. So I was really happy to find a copy of it at my local used bookstore. So up next I have Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner. This is an adult contemporary novel that follows our main character who gets invited to be a maid of honor at someone's wedding who she has not really connected with in a really long time. So she's really surprised but can't resist the offer. So at this wedding a lot of things happen, and there's a lot of secrets revealed and crushes and things like that. And that's all I really know about this one, but I've heard that it's like a really fun summer story that has a lot of family drama and relationships and things like that, which I love to read about. So I went ahead and picked this one up after I saw it at the bookstore. So yeah, I'm super excited to get to this one next summer. So up next is a book that I've been wanting for a really long time, so I'm super happy to finally have it on my shelves, and that is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And this book follows a nuclear family in Mexico in the 1950s, and I've heard this book is so atmospheric. It's full of a little bit of spookiness, family relationships, and it's kind of pitched as the Brontes in Latin America. So I don't know too much about this book just because I simply don't want to, because this book has so much hype. I have skipped all the reviews on it, but I know enough to know that it's good. So that's why I am so excited to have this one on my shelf, and I can't wait to read it. Next I have Educated by Tara Westover. This is an adult nonfiction memoir, and it follows the author as she is raised in a way where she does not have an education. So this book chronicles her fight to get an education, and she talks about why it is so important. And this book I've heard nothing but good things about. It is one of the oldest books on my TBR, and I've been wanting to get to it for a really long time. So I was really happy to find a pretty good hardcover copy at my local thrift store. So as you guys know, I've been loving nonfiction lately, so I had to pick this one up. So the first one I have is one that I am so excited for, and that is Miss Peregrine's Museum of Wonders by Ransom Riggs. If you guys know anything about me and my channel, you know that I love Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. It is the series that sparked my love for reading again after not reading for like basically a decade. I just cannot get enough of it. I actually finished the last book in the series this month, so I am just eager to get my hands on as much like residual content from this novel and this series that I can. So naturally I had to pick up Miss Peregrine's Museum of Wonders. This book is really new. It just came out, I believe, this month or last, and my boyfriend was so kind to pick it up for me when we went to Books A Million, and I just am so obsessed with the cover. Let me stop rambling about how much I love this series and let me tell you what this book's actually about. So this book is basically just a guide to all things peculiar in the universe, and it talks about loops and different like powers of peculiars and hologasts and everything that is encompassed in the peculiar universe. So this is kind of like an introductory guide that would be given to a peculiar who's new to the peculiar world, and it's kind of like a field guide. So yeah, I'm very excited to have this one on my shelf. I can't wait to read it. I will probably read it very soon just because I am eager to suck up the last remaining content from this series as I can before there's no more new books or anything that comes out. And the last book I have to talk about was a really pleasant surprise, and that is The Rabbit Hutch by Tess Gunty. All I know about this book is that it follows a kind of run down town and the desire for it to be up and running again. And yeah, I really don't know much about this book, but Kayla over at Books and Lala talked about how she really enjoyed this book, and it was a new release that was on my radar. So I actually entered the Goodreads giveaway for a copy, and surprisingly I won, which is the second one I've ever won. So I was really surprised and really happy when this book showed up on my doorstep, because who doesn't love when a book shows up on their doorstep, especially when you don't have to pay for it. Also, I just love the cover. It's so simple but so gorgeous, and I'm so happy to have this one on my shelf. So I think that concludes all the books that I've hauled over the last couple months or so. I'm super excited. All of these are really great titles, and this is probably one of my favorite hauls that I've ever done. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment and let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought of them, and let me know down in the comments which of these I should read first or which ones you think should be higher priority for me. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!